taking a chance. Telling me to dance, taking a chance. Telling me to dance, taking a chance.
So, greetings from Nigeria. It's good to be with you guys, and I'm very grateful to have this opportunity. Okay, so without further ado, I'll just start the presentation. So I'm doing the presentation on technology and social media. Technology and social media, the use and abuse in relation to emotional, social, and other intelligences. Okay. First, it's a mouthful, but I want us to just look at the various terms that are in the topic, basically. Okay, I'll just move this on. Okay, so I like to usually get all these things out of the way so that we can then discuss. Okay, most people think when you hear technology, first thing that comes to your mind is mobile phones and the internet or computers or stuff like that. So technology is anything that we use to make work better or to make our lives better. Technology is the application of scientific knowledge or any knowledge for that matter for practical purposes. Okay, so that's the first thing you need to understand when you're talking technology. You need to understand that it's anything. So the even using a car is technology. Using being able to create a bottle, tissue paper, anything, biscuits, food, it's technology. Okay, so anything that you apply your knowledge to for practical purposes is technology. And then science, I mean, I talked about scientific knowledge. Science is studying something through observation, right? So for example, if you notice that in Canada, it seems like, okay, let me just use Mr. Gbenga's example. He noticed that in the makeup of the cabinet, there are a lot of Indians and Pakistanis, but there are no Africans. That actually is science already. I mean, most people think science is when you go into the lab and then pour some stuff into bottles and you have big glasses and all of that. Science is anything that you study through observation. So what Mr. Gbenga did there is actually science. So why I'm saying all of this is to remove the barrier. Okay, the obstacle. Barrier is a word that we use in Africa a lot, but I'm sure most of us are more conversant with obstacle. We're removing the obstacle that most people have when they hear science. Many people say, oh, science is hard, science is for geeks, for maybe very brilliant people, but science is what everybody does. Everybody is involved in science in one way or the other because you're observing stuff, you are making experiments, you are trying things out. In fact, children engage in science. So for example, I have a little daughter, and sometimes she would do something and watch my reaction. That is science, because she doing something and then watching my reaction to it, she's experimenting. Is this thing okay? Will my dad allow me to do this? That's science. That's experiment. Okay, so just get all of that. And why I like to do this for people is you need to remove the obstacles to your learning. And Mrs. Francis talked about critical thinking. Critical thinking is almost the sum total of scientific knowledge. It is being able to ask the questions, being able to observe, being able to experiment. And that is what God has gifted every single human being. I mean, I just talked about my daughter, and I mean, she's not even started school and she's already behaving like a scientist already. It's not because I'm a scientist or anything, but that's just what every little baby does. Okay, so one of the things that we need to communicate, and it's good to do that with our immigrant youngsters, is to communicate that you are a scientist by nature. Everyone is a scientist, okay? Don't get scared when you hear science, when you hear technology. That's what you do normally, right? That's what you do normally, okay? So let's just get that out of the way, okay? So the next thing we're going to be considering is emotional and social intelligence, okay? Remember, our topic is technology and social media, its uses and abuses in relation to emotional, social, and other intelligences. Okay, so what we're trying to do is to say, how do we use technology, okay, and make sure that we are using it in the right way that is going to portray us as having emotional intelligence or having social intelligence, and not just in saying you are intelligent, but in getting the benefits of having a high emotional intelligence, the benefits of having good social intelligence. Okay, so that's what we are doing here. Okay, let me give us an example. For example, in the States, we have the Black Lives Matter movement. Okay, a lot of blacks are, I mean, you can be marginalized. You can be. There can be biases against you. Okay. Mrs. Francis if talked about the fact that some people say if you want to excel, you have to be 2 times better than any other person because you're black and all of that. Yes, there might be elements of that. But if you have high emotional and social intelligence, you will be able to navigate through any of those things. For example, if you are confronted by a policeman in Canada, in the United States, in the United Kingdom, if you say, "Good afternoon, sir, how may I help you?" Immediately, about 80 or 90% of his bias drops. He immediately sees you as someone who is intelligent. He immediately sees you as someone who probably cannot be a drug addict. You probably are not a gangster. He has nothing to be afraid of. He knows you respect him, you respect the law, and almost immediately, all those shackles around being black, everything, most of it just dissipates. That's just how much emotional and social intelligence can help you navigate your way through. Okay, so emotional intelligence is the ability to understand, to use, to manage our emotions and those of others. For example, in the case of the policeman we just talked about, you understand him, you understand that he has biases. The reason why he has biases is because there are a lot of blacks that are, rightly or wrongly, I mean, there was Tupac Shakur, there were the gang fights, there were all sorts of things, okay? And they've known to associate blacks with gangsterism. And it's not completely true because there are whites who are gangsters too. But somehow, in their own bias, their emotional state is they have been taught, they have a bias to see a black person is a gangster. So you understand him, okay? And then you can manage his emotion, right? You can say, "Oh, good afternoon, sir." That immediately breaks him off. He knows, "Oh, this does not fit my stereotype of a black person," right? So what are you doing there? You understand the policeman. You are managing his emotions, okay? That is one-to-one emotional intelligence. And really, social intelligence is just the application of emotional intelligence to navigate social life. For example, you're one-on-one with that policeman, one-on-one, emotional intelligence. But when, for example, you do a podcast or you are navigating in a large group, that's when we refer to your emotional intelligence as social intelligence. For example, President Obama, he's black. How did he become the president of the United States? Social intelligence. He understands how people think. He understands that blacks have this bias against them. If I approach whites this way, I will be able to win them over to myself. All of that is social intelligence. And really, so you don't have to get too befuddled with the various intelligences. Social intelligence is just the application of emotional intelligence. This ability to understand people and use and manage our own emotions and those of others. Use that knowledge, use that intelligence to navigate your social life and climb up the social ladder, right? Just like what Mrs. Francis has done, just like what Mr. Gbenga is doing and has done, okay? So that's what emotional and social intelligence is. So the question is, how can I use technology technology and social media? How do I use technology? Well, back to our topic, technology and social media. How do I use technology? How do I use social media? Right now, we know that everyone is a user of technology, whether your phones, in fact, everything that you use around you is use of technology, okay? But I'm sure that when we hear technology, we're thinking about ICT, you're thinking of computers, you're thinking about various pieces of hard scientific or technology, okay? And then social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, TikTok, all those pieces of technology, okay? How do we use that, okay? Okay, these are my main thoughts, okay? Modern technology is connected. So for example, your car has Bluetooth, it's connected to your phones, it's connected, probably your house, if you are that way, your freezer is connected to the grid, your TV is connected to the grid, your phones are connected. And modern technology is becoming increasingly social, okay? Social. That's why you hear things like networks, okay? The internet, the net there is networks, or you hear things like the web, okay? It talks about interconnectedness, okay? Now, you have to realize that everything is now connected. So what you do in one place is most probably available to almost everybody, right? Modern technology is connected. What you do on your phone, what you do on that social media feed, on Twitter, on Instagram, people can see it, okay? Now, you have to keep that in mind. Always remember that, okay? My second main thought, what I want to leave us with today is, you have to use technology. Remember I told you technology is anything that is supposed to make life better, right? So we have to use technology, right? Use technology. Third main point, don't be used by others through technology to make you do what they want you to do, okay? This is how technology is. Technology is a tool. Remember, it is a tool. Imagine, for example, that you have a plate. Your plate is supposed to be something you serve food on, right? Plate is actually technology, right? It's that granular. Okay, imagine, and I'm sure it's almost impossible for you to imagine. Imagine that your plate is determining what you are going to do tomorrow. You'll be like, how? That is crazy, right? That doesn't make sense. But do you realize that the same way plates is technology? It's the same way Twitter is technology. It's the same way Facebook is technology. If your plate doesn't determine what you are going to do tomorrow, why should Twitter determine what you're going to do tomorrow? Right? So don't be used by others through technology to make you do what they want you to do. Instead, use technology. That's the main point, right? And that's what you have to go home with today. Remember, modern technology is connected. Everything is connected. So do not think that what you're doing in your small corner is not available outside, right? Always remember, everything is connected, okay? Second main point, use technology. Don't let others use you. Don't let technology determine what you're going to do. Use technology to do something you have planned to do. Now, that presupposes that you have a plan, right? That presupposes that you have a plan. So the way to use technology, the way to do anything or to even achieve anything is to have a plan. Always have a plan. During Benga's presentation, during Mrs. Francis' presentation, they all talked about different plans. Okay. Now, having a plan is not rocket science. Simple. What do I want? Just ask yourself these three questions. What do I want? Why do I want what I want? And how can I get what I want? Very simple. Those are the things you need to ask. And once you can answer these three questions, then you have a plan. Then you've done critical thinking. Then you are sure that it is what you want to achieve that you are actually doing, not what someone else. So, for example, you see something trending on Twitter. The first question you should ask yourself is, what do I want? What is my goal? What do I want to become? What is my life now? What did I want to do this morning before I read this Twitter post, right? What do I want to do with my life? What did I want to get done this week? Don't leave your own plans and jump on the Twitter trend and start acting it out, right? If the Twitter feed, the Twitter trend is going to help you achieve what you want to do, what you want to achieve, right? Then you can use it, right? You use technology. Do not let technology determine what you're doing, right? So what do you want to do? Have a plan. Have it written down. Okay, I want to get here. Mrs. Francis talked about having a very high goal, right? Write it down. This is what I want. In 2 years' time, I want to get here. Then ask yourself, why do I want what I want? So that you don't end up, for example, if you say, I want to be a music star or a rock star. Why do I want to be a rock star? Is it because I want money? Is it because I want fame? Can I get fame or money in another way? So you need to ask yourself, what do I want? And why do I want what I want? Then the third is, how can I get what I want? Have a plan, right? I'm one of the participants said they want to meet people, right? That's how to get what you want. You need to meet, you need to have mentors, you need to have friends, you need to have senior colleagues, right? People that have gotten to where you want to get to, and then they can show you the way, right? Always ask why. Always ask why. Ask yourself, why am I doing this? Why am I reacting this way? Okay, so have a plan, ask yourself these three questions, and then you can move on from there. Okay, so technology. Remember, technology is anything that was created to make your life better, to make work easier for you. Social media, Facebook, Twitter, they're just pieces of technology. And in fact, all of technology is becoming social these days. So the line between social media and traditional technology is actually blurring. That's why I didn't even discuss so much about that. All technology is becoming social. Okay. Now remember, emotional intelligence is being able to manage the emotions of other people, manage their biases, manage the way they think, and then use it to achieve what you want. So the same way you're using technology is the same way you are managing the emotions of people, the policeman on the streets, the government official, your friends, other people of other races and other ethnicities, okay, to achieve what you want to achieve. So the sum total of everything I'm discussing this afternoon is have a plan. Have a plan. Know what you want to achieve. Know what you want to get out of life. And then use technology. Use social media. Manage the emotions of other people. One-on-one emotional intelligence, in a group social intelligence, to achieve what you want to achieve. Very simple. Okay. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be able to share this with youngsters. And I decided to move my thanks to the end. Mrs. Atilola has been a tremendous force for good in this space. And I really thank her for creating this platform, for creating this opportunity for us to be able to share with the youth and immigrant youngsters in diaspora. So if there are any questions, I would like to take them.
I have a question.
Yeah, that's good. Fire away.
Yeah, I was just wondering, like, for individuals that have to use social media for like their day-to-day activities, like social media influencers, YouTubers, and Instagram. Do you understand, sir? So I was wondering, like, if like the Twitter ban now, for example, in Nigeria, like, are we saying like it's over for them? Like, if that part of technology is wiped out, like, is it already over for them, or like, is it wrong for them to be in that line, or are they advised that as they are in that line, they should also be in other aspects, so that in case anything goes south, they'll have it to go, sir? That's my question.
Okay, this is a very great question. And that question is not only even restricted to social media ban or any other thing. So in life, things can go wrong. So anytime, so remember in my presentation, I said, how do I get what I want? Okay, that's how. I mean, if you talk to your mentors, they can tell you things, and people will always tell you, my journey was not smooth. Things can go wrong, the entire business. But for someone who had thought through and said something can go wrong, the question to ask yourself is, what can I do in response to this? Okay? When that ban happened, the Twitter ban, people who are social media influencers, they can move over to another platform. For example, it's the same thing you've been doing, right? You're not a Twitter influencer, you are a social media influencer. Now, if you were stuck with only Twitter, it means you did not plan ahead. You did not know that things could go wrong in Twitter. So, I mean, you've heard the adage saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket, right?
Yeah, sir.
Exactly. So that's, if you were caught flat-footed with Twitter, it means you put all your eggs in one basket. As a social media influencer, what you should have done was to be on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, so that if anything happens, so for example, it's not only the government of Nigeria can ban Twitter, Twitter itself can go bust, right? Twitter itself can cease to exist tomorrow. What are you going to do? Will your entire life be put on hold just because of someone else? Remember, I said, do not let technology make you do things. Use technology. So if you are in the driving seat, okay, and you see Twitter as a tool, you realize that this tool, tomorrow something can happen. The same way, if you have a car, you should have a plan B. If you have a car, make sure you also know how to use Uber or any other ride-sharing app, so that the day your car goes, something happens to it, you are not left flat-footed, right? You can diversify, you can use some other piece of technology to still achieve what you want to achieve, okay? So remember, it is use technology, don't let technology use you, okay? If you are defined by technology, these kinds of things can happen, okay? So that would be my answer. Of course, I mean, there are a lot more geopolitical and economic, what you call it?
Angles to them.
Angles, yeah. Thank you, Mr. Tola. Angles to that question, which this might not be the right fora to address. But for the purpose of the youngsters, I always say, even though I know that government has its ills, government all around the world, they have their bad and good sides. Always approach it from, how do I use this scenario? How do I use this particular thing that has happened? How do I turn it to my own advantage? Okay. So, for example, it's possible that you can, if Twitter goes down in, say, a particular country, you can switch. You can even develop your own Twitter. It's doable, right? It's possible. Okay. So always use things that happen. Life will always throw you things they call curved balls. So it's your ability to be able to use that to your own advantage. That's what happens. That's what makes great people great. Abraham Lincoln wouldn't have become president. He was actually the third in the election, but because the first and second people, something happened between them. That's how he became president, and he was one of America's greatest presidents. Right? So life will always throw you curveballs. Use those curveballs to still achieve what you want to achieve.
Telling me to dance, taking a chance.